Natalye Quam. The quickest cure for racism is to have everyone in the country adopt a child of another race. No matter your beliefs, when you hold a 4-day-old infant, love him and care for him. You don't see color, you see a little person that is in very much need of your love. We all know Caitlin Hinchley, who was a former classmate of ours whose brother was adopted from Haiti. This is just one of many examples of transracial adoptions right here in Zimbrota. Transracial adoptions should be encouraged in today's society. First, I will tell you about the cultural diversities that comes along with transracial adoptions, and second, how transracial families have to overcome the social norms. Let's begin by discussing diversities within transracial adoptions. There are cultural diversities within transracial adoptions. According to Sandra L. Patton, Associate Professor of American Studies at Drake University for 23 years, in her book, Birthmarks, published in 2000, states that culture is defined by a conceptual system of beliefs, rules, and values that lies behind the different ways of behaving. According to Richard M. Lee, author and member of the Minnesota International Adoption Project team, in the article Cultural Socialization with Families with Transracially Adopted Children, published in 2008, states that there is a growing trend of transracial adoptions. Since 1971, there have been 330,000 children adopted from another country. Parents of these adoptions have been labeled as colorblind, which means that they have the ability to view all races equally. There are many critics that are concerned that the child will be negatively affected if they are adopted by a family of a different race. Their concerns are that the child will not be able to express or acknowledge their birth culture. But that's not always the case. Most transracially adopted children start realizing their racial differences by the ages of 4 to 5. During these younger years is when the child is most likely to participate in cultural socialization practices, whether it's from their birth culture or adoptive culture. The families usually encourage the child to learn and express whichever culture they want and not decide for them. These transracially adopted children may experience modern ethnography of conjuncture, which means that they are constantly moving between different cultures. This can benefit both the child and their families. They can all experience different cultures together and become more understanding of all races. But as children become older, they become less interested in knowing about their birth culture, as their main focus is fitting in with their peers. Now that I've told you about the cultural diversities within transracial adoptions, I will explain how these families have to overcome the social norms. Transracial families have to overcome social norms. According to Colleen Butler-Sweet, who has a PhD in sociology from Boston University, in the article, A Healthy Black Identity, states that families are a critical component to deflecting impacts of racism in our society. In our world today, society defines a true family identity through biology, though it is known that people are not solely defined by their genetic heritage. Damon Harsh, an African American who was adopted by a white family, recollects back to his younger years when his parents said to him, "The biggest thing would be to tell a black adoptive child that there is nothing wrong with being black. In fact, it's a very good thing, though society is going to tell the child otherwise." In the United States, African Americans have struggled with discrimination and inequality throughout history. They are known as inferior and unworthy by many. Transracial adoptions could help eliminate the stigmatism associated with African Americans, as well as other races who are discriminated against. The parents of the transracially adopted children have to set examples of how equals treat each other. They also need to teach their child that they are worthy of all basic human rights, no matter their color. When the families go out in the public eye, they are often stared at for breaking the social precedents set before them. They must not dwell on the judgments they receive from the public. They must continue to keep breaking down the social norms and love their diverse family. Today, I told you that there are cultural diversities within transracial adoptions, and second, how these families have to overcome the social norms. Transracial adoptions should be encouraged in today's society. Now that you've heard my reasonings on why they should be encouraged, maybe one day you'll be the one holding the 4-day-old infant of another race. Opening your heart and eyes to this transracial child could ultimately break down the racial divide.